Hi, welcome back to another episode of Nature Aquariums TV, and today we're going to take you behind the scenes as we set up our spectacular UNS 120p plant showcase tank. But before we start with the video, please remember to like, share, and subscribe so you can watch more videos like this. All right guys, welcome back. So today we're going to take you behind the scenes. The store is closed up and we're going to scape this beautiful 120p tank from UNS. And what we're going to do is create a plant showcase. As you may know, a lot of these plants, when we get them from the nurseries, they're grown above water. They're immersed growth. And especially with the stem plants, their leaf shape, their colors, their sizes, all of that is different than when the plants are grown underwater under the right conditions. One of the struggles that as an aquarium hobbyist you may face is, how's it gonna look like in my tank? And what we wanted to do is create a showcase tank that's gonna label all of the different plants that we carry, and you'll be able to see the names, and we're gonna color code them in a very easy to follow format in green, yellow, and red. And that's going to determine green if it's a easy to take care of plant, low nutrient requirements, low light requirements, and low CO2 requirements. In other words, your low tech, non-CO2 tank. Yellow are going to be kind of in between, and red are going to be high CO2, high lighting, and high nutrient uptake plants. But all of them are going to be in here. Purposely set up the lighting in the middle so it gives some shadowing and less power onto the side so we can grow the less demanding plants. Our thought on this is modeled after a lot of the European stores. In Germany, you'll go to a lot of the aquarium stores and they'll set up tanks and they'll have the labeling. And we wanted to bring that here to America and have you guys experience something different. We're gonna add fish, of course, cleanup crew, and create videos on the fertilization, the lighting, the CO2 injection, all of those things to help you replicate the beauty of these plants at home. We're surrounded by all the different plants, both tissue culture, stem plants. We're using UNS Controsoil in here, and it's going to be a lot of work. We're going to get to it, and you'll be able to see some planting techniques. One of the things that everybody does in the industry is they like using some CA glue and usually tissue. I'm going to give you a little trick that I like doing better. I like using the dried up rock wool that you get from your plants. First of all, it grips better, and when it dries, it blends in with the natural colors better than white, because usually the cotton or the tissue, it stands out like a sore thumb. Whereas this, even if you use some dirty rock wool, it blends really, really well and you don't even see it. I gotta warn you, it does create very, very strong fumes. So use it in a very well ventilated area, and do not glue your fingers to it. We won't talk about personal experiences because I may or may not have glued my fingers. So here we're gonna create a sand little path. One of the things I want to show you guys is a little trick. Whenever you're transitioning from your aqua soil to your sand, you do need to use a heavier gravel like this. And that's going to become your retaining wall between the Controsoil and the sand. Without it, the sand is just not going to be able to hold back the heavier grains. So we finish our hardscape. We've gotten our nice setup where we want our rocks. We've used lava rock pieces to actually create retaining walls to retain the shape of our two hills in the back. So now we're gonna get to planting. And before we start planting, it's always better if we wet everything down with sprayer, and that's what we're gonna do. So we just finished labeling the whole tank where we're going to be planting. As you can see, we have some nice labels that we've done, each with a code. And basically, the G stands for green, and we have numbers, and then there's going to be the labels at the bottom of the tank, and they correspond green, yellow, red. You may be wondering why we're doing that. So even UNS color codes their plants on ease of use. So we followed that same color coding along here the tank, and they're all going to be labeled in here. Now that we have a good idea where we want to plant, and our decisions where we planted were based on the amount of light, water flow, and CO2 availability. Now comes the fun part, and we got to plant everything into the soil and be careful with the plants. All right, guys, so we just finished planting this. Super grateful for the help Brittany has done. She's done an amazing job laying the hardscape out and laying with the plants. Now comes the really tricky part of filling this up, and we have to be very careful because we can really uproot all the hard work we put in. Even though the video doesn't reflect this, this is over 3 hours of planting this 120 centimeter tank. So we're gonna start going with that, and I'm also gonna cover some of the plants that we put in here to give you an idea of some of the cool plants in here. Right now I'm gonna talk about the plants and what we used. For the foreground, we have Marsilea hirsuta. Now this is a non-CO2 lower tech ground cover, and it is really good for people who don't have CO2 and aren't doing extremely high light. Marsilea is a relatively newcomer to the aquarium world. It does require a good nutrient-rich substrate, and it's very slow growth. Typically, it's going to brown out before it actually starts growing new leaves. That's normal as it transitions, and it's usually anywhere from 2 to 4 months before you start seeing the fruits of your labor with that plant. In addition, we have done some Glossostigma, which is an old school favorite of Takashi Amano back in the early days. It is a very easy to grow plant. It does much better with CO2. I've heard a lot of people say they can grow Monte Carlo without CO2. I really haven't seen it take off without CO2. It is a medium to high light plant, good substrate, and it does best with CO2. You do have to prune it regularly, because what will happen, it'll start growing on top of itself, and then it starts detaching and it starts rotting at the bottom. Lastly, we're doing mini hair grass, and that pretty much covers the foreground. In the back center, we use Staurogene repens, which is a favorite of mine. You can let it grow taller for a bushier effect. It's great for edges or a ground cover if you really want to keep it nice and tight. Then as the plant grows taller, you trim it and you replant the tops, and therefore you can create a nice ground cover. It does provide good shelter for shrimp. So if you're trying to raise shrimp, they'll start growing on and living in the underside of the ground cover, and the fish won't be able to get at it. We did a couple things. On the outside edge, we do have cryptocorynes on the right side, and these are all from tissue culture. So I want to show the beauty of actually growing cryptocorynes out of tissue culture. So we have 3 different varieties. Lagandera Miobali Red, which is a newer plant in the hobby. It is very similar to crypt. It does grow in medium light situation, no CO2. It's an easy beginner plant, just like the cryptocorynes. And in the back, I brought out, this is a big tank, I brought out Cryptocoryne Balancé, and it is one of my favorite crypts. I've used it extensively when I had my personal discus tank, and it can handle 85 degrees without an issue. No CO2, it's fine. With CO2, it just grows incredible. But I'm going to recommend that is a large tank plant. Mid-ground, we put in Aerocolon Vietnam. It is a difficult plant. Lots of CO2 in order to grow. It does not like to be trimmed, but it does grow by creating offshoots to the side, and you can pull off those offshoots kind of like a bromeliad if you think about it. It grows off to the side, or a pineapple plant, and you can replant those offshoots. On the other side, we use Blixia japonica, and Blixia japonica is one of my favorite plants. It grows very well with CO2. I've never tried it without CO2, so I don't want to, give you a yay or nay on that, but it is a CO2 plant. I have gotten it to turn reddish as the plant matures if you cut back the nitrate. So if you run strong phosphate, potassium, GH, CO2 and lighting, and cut back the nitrates, you will get a reddish tint out of it. Moving along, we are doing a usually fan favorite of growing Hydrocotyl tripartia on wood. It is an easy plant to grow. You can grow it on wood, on rock, and in the substrate. It will crawl up. Very cool plant. I also brought in Bacupa Carolina Red. This is the redder variety. Normally everybody grows it very well without CO2. For fun, I want to grow it with CO2 and see how that plant grows. So I'm super intrigued to see that plant growing up. Now, white Ludwigia, it's a brand new cultivar. It is related to Ludwigia cuba, except it's been through a lot of hybridization to get it to grow white. So I'm looking forward to playing with that plant. I've seen it and other aquascapers who have grown it, and it's absolutely stunning. I want to do that here. That's why I centered it very close to the light. It is a strong light, strong CO2, good substrate. All right, guys, so right now we've set up our Oase Biomaster 350 filter, which, by the way, we're going to put a second one in this tank. Right now, we're starting our fishless cycle process, in which we're adding ammonia and bacteria. That's what we're doing here, and you can watch our video on fishless cycling, and I'll put the link below. But we're going to get this tank cycled properly without using any fish. So by the time the tank is fully cycled, we'll be able to put fish in there and not have any losses. All right, guys, so I really want to thank you for watching this video today. First of all, I'm super grateful for Brittany. Great job, Brittany. She orchestrated the Hardscape and kind of what she had a vision, and I think she did a great job in executing the vision. I can't wait to show you guys how this tank is going to grow. Right now it's a little cloudy. We put equilibrium in there. We put alkaline buffer. We have gone and added our bacteria, and by tomorrow we'll start adding our CO2, and we're going to put the doser. We're going to be using a Sentia doser in there to start off with a little bit of Excel every day and potassium dosing. We're going to be doing large water changes a couple times during the week in the first 4 weeks of the tank. So there's going to be a follow-up video to this in about a month or so, showing you the progress of this tank and to have fun learning new plants. And that's what we're going to be doing in the future. Till then, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for supporting us, and have a great day fish keeping, guys.